Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time to my channel, welcome to my channel. So this is actually going to be my very first watch me work video. I had posted on Instagram to ask everyone what type of videos they wanted to see the most, and this one came in at #1. So if this is something you're interested in, keep on watching, stick around. As always, don't forget to click that like and subscribe button. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below, and let's get started. Okay, so what are we doing on you today?
That I don't know. Okay, so I really liked your blue and tan nails, but I didn't like the rhinestone ones.
Which ones were blue and tan?
They were like blue and beige, but you know me and rhinestone, so I was thinking maybe instead of rhinestones we could find a sparkle. You did a YouTube video on them.
Oh, the teal ones?
The teal ones.
Oh,
So
okay.
maybe
So you wanted something like that?
similar, but maybe go with this. I don't really know.
Okay,
we gotta work it out together.
Let
I
me
think.
show you. Oh.
I don't know what this is, but girl.
Okay, so there's that. I've got this one, blissful. No, what is it called? Blushful.
Oh, that's pretty nice.
Yeah, that's pretty. And this one is similar to
To
that
that,
one,
yeah.
but it's a little more like less vibrant, I would say.
Okay.
So it's just a little lighter.
Yeah.
And then this one, that's you.
100% that biatch.
So that one's
that's
got
nice.
lots of like different chunks.
I like that one a lot.
Chunky bits and iridescent.
Yeah, I really like that one.
So you'd have to put that over a color.
Okay.
And then this one I made when I was there. I just mixed a bunch of glitter.
bunch of
Just a
stuff.
glitter bar. Let me go grab that sample and
just
see
see
what
like-
we want out of that. Alright guys, we are going to get into the design. So as I mentioned, I don't normally allow clients to take that amount of time to choose their designs or their colors, particularly with COVID in place. We have a lot of cleaning and things to do in between, so my clients are required to let me know ahead of time what they want, or at least come in with an idea. But because we knew that I was going to be filming and she was my last client of the day, there was no rush, so we could absolutely take our time and go over a bunch of different choices and ideas that she wanted. And we came up with doing just a couple of marble designs on each hand and also a sort of nude-ish nail with some glitter accents. So really it's going to be a simple design, but with the length of her nails and the shape of her nails, they are going to look bomb. So we are going to start off by removing the existing color. So her nails currently have color all the way through built in with acrylic. So I've done a thin layer of clear acrylic underneath, and so I am just taking down all of the current color, the glitters, the color, etc. down to the clear layer. Now she doesn't want any length taken off, she just wants them reshaped. This client, she loves to have them super sharp and pointy, which I also love. She's one of my very few who likes them to be like daggers. She's made comments that she has injured herself, stabbed herself, but she doesn't care because beauty comes first. So I am using a 2X carbide bit. Now I know a lot of people get a little freaked out when I say that I use the 2X or the extra coarse carbide bits, but honestly guys, I do not have the patience nor the time to take forever to file off the acrylic. And furthermore, I have really bad carpal tunnel, and I do find that using the handpiece and the drills, even though I've got an Erica, even though I've got lighter hand pieces, it still is one of the things that causes me the most pain. So I like to use the drill as little as possible and for as little of time as possible. So I do find using that these extra coarse or 2x coarse bits do definitely help cut through that acrylic. Now I get them at various places. Majority of them I've actually gotten on my travels. So anytime I travel to the US or anywhere even within Canada, I always stock up on my e-file bits. Now you will hear me reference the e-file as a drill, and let me just say I apologize in advance. It is just something that has been ingrained in me since I started nails, and I honestly believe it's just from using drills lots with my dad. I worked in a dental lab for years, and we had a machine that I called the drill. So I know that it is an e-file. I know that it is the correct term to use. The correct term to use is an e-file, but if I call it a drill, please don't hold that against me. So as I said, I'm using the carbide e-file bit to take down all of this product, and I'm being very, very careful, obviously, around the cuticle area. And if there is any little bit of lifting, I just use very, very light strokes and very, very almost like tapping motion to take out any bit of lifting. Now I also file at the highest speed, which again freaks people out, but I do file with my e-file at the very highest speed, again because I find that it cuts through the product much quicker. So the current e-file that I'm using is actually the Erica's ProTech T300, and it has, I believe it's a 30,000 RPMs. So like I said, I do file at the highest speed. Now you shouldn't be afraid of using your e-file, in my opinion. If you are concerned and if you are afraid of using your e-file, I would highly recommend taking some type of an e-file course. There are tons of them offered all over the place, and it'll just help you feel a little more comfortable. I have been using my e-file probably since, I don't even know, a couple of months into doing nails, and so I'm very comfortable with it. And of course accidents happen, but accidents can happen at any time with anything. Even a hand file, you can have an accident. So you just have to be very careful. You'll see here as I'm going around that cuticle area, I'm just very, very lightly tapping, and I'm not putting a lot of pressure. So even though the hand file, even though the e-file is at a high speed, I'm not pushing really hard on the nail, so I'm not creating any heat spikes. Not at one point did this client ever say to me that it was hot, which I always preface when I am doing nails to let my client know, to tell me if you're feeling any heat at all, let me know, because sometimes our drill bits can get a little dull and maybe we're not realizing it, and at that time you can definitely cause some heat spikes. But not once during the service did she ever mention to me that, you know, there was any kind of heat happening. So I've actually purchased a new e-file from Amazon that I wanted to try. I have noticed that this one is, I think, starting to go on me. There's a few little glitches here and there that sometimes happens when I am working on a client. So I just purchased this one off of Amazon just as a backup, just in case, but I'm going to actually start using it this week to see how it works on clients, and then I'll do another follow-up as well. But that being said, I'm just going to continue on. I'm working on her right hand right now, and I'm just going to continue on working on her left hand and getting all of the existing product off. So another question that I get asked quite often is what type of a vacuum system it is that I use. So I actually just have a shop vac that is placed in a cupboard. My dad and my uncle built me the cupboard, and it fits just next to my Alex drawers, and then there's a hole in the side of the cupboard where the hose comes out, and then I just run the hose along the top of my desk. Now it looks in this video like the vacuum is not working, and the reason that is because I have the air conditioner pointed directly at us because it was so hot in the nail room that day that I actually had to have the air pointed directly at us, so the air was blowing the dust away from the vacuum. So it was actually collecting all over my glove and all over like the side of my desk, but the vacuum does actually work quite well. At one point during my career, before I moved upstairs, I did actually have a hole cut in my desk, and I had the vacuum mounted and the hose mounted underneath the desk, but I didn't like it so much because I found the hole was too small and I was constantly having to move my clients, having them to move their body side to side so that their arm was right over that hole. So I much prefer to have the hose sitting on top of the desk, and then I just move the hose where I want it to go. Now, of course, being a shop vac, it is louder, but I do find that this is the one that works for me. I have mentioned in a previous video that I do want to look into getting the NOVE flare. It's just a bit costly. It's a definite great investment, but right now it's just not in my budget. So eventually that is the goal, is to get a NOVE flare. But for now, this shop vac is what's working. So next I'm going in with my cuticle pusher, and I am pushing the eponychium back to expose all of that dead skin or the cuticle. So now oftentimes people think the cuticle is the actual skin that we are pushing back, the live tissue that we are pushing back, but it is not. The cuticle is that dry white skin that kind of flakes off that we are wanting to remove. Now when you are holding your cuticle pusher against the client's nail, you do not want to be holding it at a vertical angle. You want it to be fairly flat against the client's nail, and then you just want to gently push that skin back. You don't want to put a lot of pressure. You are not wanting to dig into the natural nail, so you do have to have a little bit of a pressure, but not so much that you're digging holes into the natural nail. So I will continue to do this on the last two fingers, and then I will get ready to use my hand file to shape the nails and remove any little bits of lifting that are still remaining. So this is where we create her daggers. As I mentioned, she loves her nails super, super sharp and pointy, so that is what she gets. So I am just simply going to go in with my hand file, reshape them, make sure that they are extra sharp, and as I mentioned, if I have any little bits of lifting or separating at all, this is where I go in with my hand file and I just very lightly feather those little pieces of lift out and make sure that everything is smooth and ready for application. So as you can see, there's a little tiny bit of lifting right up in that corner right there. So I'm just going to take my hand file over that lifting and very lightly feather it away. Now it does look like I'm being a bit aggressive in the video, but I promise you I'm not. It's a very light touch, and as you can see, the lifting just disappears. And I'm just going to continue on shaping this nail, removing any little bits of lifting, getting it ready for the E-file to remove all that cuticle, and then we're going to get ready for application. Alright guys, so let me start off by apologizing because this entire section of the video is out of focus, and I apologize. I did not know, obviously, while I was filming that it had gone out of focus. So basically what I'm doing here is taking my little E-file bit, it is a diamond bit, and I'm just going along that dead skin or that dead cuticle. You can kind of see it in the video, those little white pieces of dead skin are sort of flicking away or flying away. You want to definitely remove all of that. Now I am not filing here at a high speed like I do when I am removing product or debulking. This is just on half speed, and I will post a little image in the corner of the type of little bit that I love and that I use for this. So I'm just going to continue on doing this. I'm going to fast forward through this because it's blurry, and again, I'm so sorry, you guys. So I actually went in with some cuticle nippers and also removed any little pieces of dead tissue that she had, if there were any little hangnails, but I removed that from the video because it was still blurry, and as you can see, even this part of the video is still slightly blurry. It does fix itself in a second, guys. So here we go, we're back in focus. So what I'm doing now is just going in with my prep solution and giving the nail a good scrub with this little brush. So off to the side, I just have a dappen dish filled with my custom solution. So my custom solution is just a combination of 50% 99% alcohol and 50% 100% acetone. So it's just a 50-50 mix. I find that it really helps to dry the nail out so that there's no oils and everything, and get it ready for the primer. So next I'm going to go in with my primer, and obviously with primers we all know you do not want to get it onto the skin whatsoever, so I'm being very careful not to get it onto the skin, and I am only applying it to the natural nail, or the naked nail as I like to call it. And I go in and do 2 layers of the primer. So I will do all 10 fingers with the primer, then I will go back and I will do all 10 again. Now another thing that you will notice is I actually do a little bit of a scrubbing motion. So I kind of scrub the primer in as I'm applying it, and I do find that it helps with extra adhesion when I do that. So with this particular client, she really likes to do a type of design where on one hand we have 3 nails, 1 design, and then 2 nails, which are generally the ring finger and the middle finger, are a different design. And then she flips it on the other hand, where the 3 nails are the opposite and the 2 nails are the opposite. So what we finally decided to do was to take this very soft pinky purplish semi-transparent color, and we are going to do the pinky finger, the pointer finger, and the thumbnail all with this color, and the addition of some of the new glitters that I got from the pink chair that are amazing. And then on the ring finger and the middle finger, we are going to do marbling with the addition of also some glitters. So generally, I will always say to you guys to put down a very thin layer of clear, but when it came to this blushy pink color, I didn't do that because this color is a semi-transparent and it's a very natural color. When I go to do a fill, I won't have to worry about taking this color all off. I can leave this as sort of my clear thin base layer. So I've added a thinner layer of the blush pink custom mixed acrylic. So this is one that I've custom mixed myself, and I'm now taking the glitter called Bad Influence, which I'm obsessed with. The minute I put it on her nail, I was like, oh my gosh, I absolutely love this glitter. So as I mentioned, I got it at the pink chair. It is an iridescent, but it has some bright pink tiny bits in it, so it just picks up like a fuchsia kind of pink with the iridescent. It is amazing. So next on this nail here, I'm now applying that thin layer of the clear, and I'm going to also do that onto the middle finger. Now, as I mentioned in so many of my videos, you want to be very careful not to get product all over the skin, you guys. I see this in videos all the time and it just drives me crazy. So be very careful when you're applying your acrylics to make sure that you are not flooding the cuticle area and that you're not using maybe an oversized brush. If you are finding that you are having to wipe the product away from the skin a lot, that means your liquid and your monomer ratio is maybe too wet, or maybe you are using just too much or too large of a sized brush. So I'm just going to let that thin clear layer set a little bit on the ring finger and the middle finger, and I'm going to move on to the pointer, and it's going to be the exact same application as the pinky. So as you see, I just added a very thin layer of that blush pink color. I feathered it down from the cuticle area towards the tip, and now I'm adding the product onto the tip area, and I'm just kind of patting it in. I want to create this layer very thin, but not so thin that it's completely transparent, because we do want to have a little bit of that pinkish blush hue underneath the glitter. And then I'm going to go in and add the glitter. And of course, once I'm done with all of my color and glitter applications, we are going to cap with clear, which is why you want to keep these layers very thin. And moving on to the thumb is exactly the same as the pointer finger and the pinky finger. Now, normally I am very good at giving you guys my custom mix ratios for my blush pink mixes, but this one here, I honestly made it without paying attention to what the measurements were. So what I can tell you is that it does have some cover peach in it. It has some crystal pink, which is a clear pink powder. And I also added the addition of a pink pigment and some white acrylic and also a little tiny bit of a purple pigment. And I used my mortar and pestle and I ground everything up, and that's how I came up with this color. So you could kind of play around with those colors and see what you guys come up with. If you come up with another custom color that you really like that is similar to this, I would love to know what your ratio is, and a picture if you could send it to me, or even share it with me on Instagram, because once this is gone, I am going to have to try to make it again, and I'm definitely going to have to write down the measurements and the ratios because it is a really, really nice color. I've even used it to do some baby boomer or faded French nails, and it really is a nice pink color. So I'm just dipping into my jar of glitter and grabbing little bits and adding it onto the wet acrylic, and it'll just stick right into that wet acrylic. Now, if your acrylic starts to dry before you can get the glitter to stick, you can just add either a little bit of that same color or go into your clear and just grab a little tiny bit of clear and re-wet that nail so that the glitter has something to stick to. And so next I'm going back to the ring finger and middle finger. That clear layer has cured and hardened enough, and I'm going to start doing some marbling. So I've seen several techniques where people will grab they'll double dip the bead of acrylic at the cuticle area, and that's how they'll start with the marbling. So I wanted to try it out because generally I don't do that, but to be honest, I didn't really love it. So when I went back through the rest of the nails, I just did them how I normally do them. So here's where I attempted to grab that double dipped bead and pull it down. Like I think I've seen Sarah's Nail Secrets, I think she does it that way, and I've seen a few other ladies do it that way as well. But generally I just grab my beads individually like this and layer them. So I did the nude color, I did the white, and then I did the pink, and now I'm just marbling and pulling that color through. Now when I'm doing marbling, I do prefer to work in smaller sections with smaller beads of acrylic. I just feel like you have less of a chance of dripping the product all over the client's skin because you do have to work with it quite wet in order for it to marble very nicely. So as you can see, I'm just working in small sections. I'm using my brush to kind of push that product along the cuticle area and the sidewall area to get it as close as I can to the skin but not touching the skin. And this is really the best way to not get product all over the skin. I cannot stress enough, you guys, I know I say it all the time, but I cannot stress enough that you do not want to do that. And the reason that I'm saying it all the time is because I see it so often in videos. Now once you get closer to the tip area where you don't really have that risk of touching the skin, you can work with a bit larger of a size bead, which I just did there. And then I'm just going in with the glitter. Now this glitter is called 100% that beep, and it is a very chunky glitter. I did have a little bit of a harder time working with it because there's lots of pieces of that chunky, very thick mylar in there. So I wasn't super in love with it like I thought I would be. I much prefer the other one. The name is sort of escaping me at the moment, but I much prefer the other one that I did use on the pinky nail. I am obsessed with that one and I need to get it in every single color, whatever she has. But I just added some little bits of glitter here and there. I don't want to cover the entire nail and cover up the marbling, but we're just adding the little bits of glitter just for a little added detail. So for this nail, I did not use the double dipping method that I used on the ring finger at the cuticle area. I just used my traditional way of adding a little bit of that marbling and just kind of pushing the acrylic up and around that cuticle area, filling it in, obviously without getting it on the skin. Now there's nothing wrong with the double dipping method, I'm just not used to it, and this was honestly the first time that I tried it, so I'm sure if I try it more often and I continue doing it, I would get better at it and I would like it. I think I just need to watch a few more videos and see how the girls do it and then try it a few more times, and you never know, I might end up actually liking that application method better than my own. Now the last step I had to do was simply go back in and cap every nail with clear acrylic. So here I'm just finishing up on her right hand by capping the thumb in clear, and then I'm going to move on to her left hand. So on her left hand we are going to be doing the exact same designs, but we're going to be doing them on the opposite fingers. So on her thumb, her pointer, and her pinky, those ones are the ones that will have the marbling pattern, and on her middle finger and her ring finger, those are the ones that will have the glitter and the neutral pink color. And next I'm going in with my hand file, which is a 100-100 grit, and this is where I'm refining the shape, making sure to give her those super sharp points that she's requesting. And a lot of ladies will go in with their E-file at this point, but as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, the E-file actually causes a lot more strain on my hands, so I do prefer to use a hand file, and sometimes it can take a little bit longer, but this is where you take the time to really refine that shape, make sure everything is smooth before I use my cuticle bit to go around the cuticle area. And lastly, before I do my buffing and adding my top coat, I just go in with that same little cuticle bit and I smoothen out the cuticle area. I do this so that when the nail grows out, the client doesn't have a huge lump of product growing out from the nail. It's a very smooth transition. And then once we're done this, we're just going to go in with the buffers and the top coat. So this is the part that my client hates the most. She absolutely hates the buffing. She said it feels like nails on a chalkboard. She gets crazy goosebumps and she always ends up having a shiver about halfway through the buffing process. So I'm curious, let me know below if any of your clients absolutely hate the buffing process. And finally, we are adding our top coat. This is when you really see the reveal of those glitters. And the other cool thing about this glitter was when she held her hand actually behind her and sort of out of the light, you can see in the reflection there, they almost picked up like a rose gold hue. So I'm telling you, I cannot say enough how much I love this glitter. Now the other one, the explicit one, it was okay. I didn't absolutely love it just because of those huge chunks. But the one on the pinky, I'm obsessed with. Thank you for watching my first Watch Me Work video, guys. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you enjoyed this design just as much as I do. I know it's simple, but I am a sucker for anything with pink, so I absolutely love these. If you know anyone else that might like this video, please share it with them. Don't forget to click that like and subscribe. And if you have any questions or comments, leave them below. And as always, guys, have an amazing day.